My name is Barbara Fetters with the Mercy College of Nursing and Health Sciences. The topic of my presentation is dementia. Can individualized activities improve social interactions? According to the Alzheimer's Association, dementia is a general term for a decline in mental ability severe enough to interfere with daily life. It is not a specific disease, but an overall term that describes a wide range of symptoms associated with a decline in memory or other thinking skills severe enough to reduce a person's ability to perform everyday activities. Patients with dementia in nursing homes often do not have very much to do. According to Moeller, Renham, and Meyer, 2018, if a person with dementia has a chance to take part in activities which match his or her personal interests and preferences, this may lead to a better quality of life, may reduce challenging behavior, such as restlessness or aggression, and may have other positive effects. This presentation aims to show that there is value in individualized social interactions for dementia patients. It can improve their ability to respond, help improve well-being and quality of life, and decrease the instances of agitation, aggression, and sadness. This topic is important to me because many elderly people with dementia are left alone without enough individualized social interaction. A diagnosis of dementia with admission to a nursing home can already be a life sentence of isolation to some. However, if facilities initiate activities specific to the preferences of these residents, then their quality of life can still be as optimal as possible as the disease progresses. There is increasing interest in using complementary and alternative treatments to manage behavioral and psychological symptoms of dementia such as agitation, aggression, and depressed mood, according to Moyle, Cook, Beatty, Shum, O'Dwyer, and Barrett, 2014. It is important to the public because we do not want to see our loved ones left sitting alone all day or lying in bed for the majority of each day with nothing specific to do. One day we may be in this situation. We may have dementia, or we might have progressed to a state of not being able to care for ourselves anymore. We would want meaningful interactions with others in order to have as much happiness in our lives as possible. And this is important to the healthcare system because we are caregivers of the hurt, sick, and dying. We have taken an oath that we would do no harm. Therefore, emotional needs must be met in order for each dementia patient to have a better quality of life as the disease progresses. Because there is currently no successful cure or method of prevention, the primary goal of most interventions is to maintain function and improve quality of life. Social and recreational activities are important for achieving these goals, according to Pope, Hunt, and Ellison. It is important to patients or the subject of my review to have a good quality of life. Social interactions can help them reminisce, engage in conversations, promote happiness, and feel more calm as frustrations mount as the disease progresses. My PICO statement is, for adult patients with dementia in a long-term care facility, do individualized activities compared to general activities improve social behaviors over a 3-month period? I use the Cochrane and CINAHL databases to search for my topic of interest. I combine the terms dementia and long-term care and activities for elderly, not activities of daily living, or ADL. This returned 247 articles. I also tried adding another search box to include and improvement of behavior. This narrowed my search to 7 results. I found one interesting article, then removed this extra search box to add more results back to my list. I also limited my search to a published date between 2012 and 2018. I narrowed it to academic journals in the English language and chose a specific age group of 65 plus years, which I later removed when I modified my PICO statement. This helped to filter search results to 89. After review of each article, 72 articles were discarded, leaving 17 articles. After reviewing the abstracts, 7 articles were retained based on relevance to my PICO question. 5 articles were chosen based upon the assignment criteria. Reminiscence can be used with dementia patients not only to encourage them to remember events and people from the past, but also to help them recall happy memories that may reduce overall sadness. Talking about their children, places where they grew up, and jobs that they had can have a positive difference in their mood, according to Pincourt and Forstmeyer, 2011. This exercises the memory and may help bring back to mind other events about which to reminisce. Pincourt and Forstmeyer also showed that moderate improvements were observed at post-test with regard to ego integrity and depression. In their meta-analysis, they proved that residents with depression and chronic physical disease showed the largest improvements with in-depth reminiscence sessions versus simple life review. Another study was aimed at observing the effectiveness of quiet presence in the room versus a foot massage. In order to compare changes in agitation and mood in people with dementia, Moyle, Cook, Beattie, Shum, O'Dwyer, and Barrett 2014 conducted this study. Foot massage and quiet presence may only be beneficial if the individual with dementia enjoys these things. The enjoyment or lack thereof could possibly be affected by the stage of dementia per the individual. A foot massage could be pleasant if the resident's feet ache or hurt, or if they enjoyed it in earlier years. However, if they've never enjoyed their feet being touched by someone else, then it could be an unpleasant and agitating experience. A quiet presence may significantly be enjoyable to patients who are constantly left alone or feel alone. Someone simply sitting in the same room with them may help them feel some degree of comfort. In a different aspect, a quiet presence may be awkward, and the resident may expect their visitor to say or do something instead of just sit there in silence. The individual experience could greatly vary. Pope, Hunt, and Ellison 2016 conducted a study with animal therapy versus human interaction. Residents enjoyed playing with the animal, which in this study was a dog. Residents with dementia felt happier as they remembered pets they used to own or a favorite animal from the past. Residents who were given individual time with real dogs were encouraged to pet and brush them with no interruption or other human interaction. Researchers stood nearby and did not interfere with sessions. Residents with dementia who were participants of the human interaction aspect of this study would sit with a researcher and either have general conversations, or the researcher would read the newspaper to them and look at pictures in the paper together. People need to have these types of individual interactions in order to satisfy an emotional need of connection. The loneliness that can accompany dementia drastically decreases the happiness and quality of life in patients who suffer from this disease. Having someone else present to talk to or read to them can meet the emotional need of connecting with others, in addition to feeling important and special that someone else would choose to spend time with them. Many nursing homes or skilled facilities offer some type of activity for residents to enjoy on a daily basis. Some common activities are board games, bingo, and someone may even come on a regular basis to play a musical instrument or sing. Residents with dementia may participate in these general activities just to have something to do, but they still may feel isolated and feel that their personal needs of social interactions are not met. If they are given personally tailored activities, then they have the opportunity to be more social and focus on their specific activities. Their quality of life may improve because they are experiencing joy. In the 5 articles I reviewed, the observation staff were trained in how to effectively and consistently observe residents and record their reactions and any changes in mood. Pincourt and Forstmeyer, in their reminiscence study, conducted 128 studies and reported a broad range of outcomes from therapeutic to preventive effects. In the foot massage versus quiet presence study, residents with moderate to severe dementia and a history of agitated behavior were the focus participants. There was a positive change in alertness for participants in the foot massage group, indicating reduced alertness, and a negative change for participants in the quiet presence group, indicating increased alertness, according to Moyle, Cook, Beattie, Shum, O'Dwyer, and Barrett 2014. There was marked enjoyment from the majority of the participants, with special preference to the foot massage. The data collected in the study was direct feedback from participants. The animal-assisted therapy versus human interaction study was interesting because they not only used live dogs, but also tested with plush animals and even robotic dogs. Residents positively responded no matter what form of animal was used, but responded the greatest to real dogs. Human interaction time was one-on-one specifically with observers. If residents were unable to interact, researchers still sat with them for the allotted time and read the newspaper to them. According to Pope, Hunt, and Ellison 2016, the interaction observers were discreetly positioned and recorded the behaviors at 1-minute intervals for the 10 minutes pre-interaction, during interaction, and post-interaction for a total of 30 observations per visit. Some similarities were that each study specifically targeted patients with dementia, each had an intervention group and a control group, and each one observed enough residents in order for it to be a good study sample. According to Boswell and Cannon, 2017, there should be 30 subjects for each group, or 30 subjects for each variable. In each study, the observers were trained and held to the specifics of their observations, and each research group also stayed with their original hypothesis to test the results to the end. I noticed some inconsistencies between the studies. The reminiscence study stated that very little difference was observed in change of mood and aggression, while other studies indicated that, although not significant, there was definitely a difference. No gaps were found in any of the studies selected for this presentation. Limitations noted were: one of the studies allowed staff at the nursing home to be trained to collect the data. This possibly skewed study results because the residents were already familiar with the staff and may have responded more readily to them. The foot massage study indicated that the unfamiliar research assistants and variations in usual activity may have contributed to the increase in agitation per Moeller, Renham, and Meyer, 2018. Data was compared and measured using many different types of instruments, such as the Pittsburgh Agitation Scale, the Demographic and Pet History Questionnaire, the Monora-Park Engagement Scale, and the Cohen-Mansfield Agitation Inventory. These tools help to determine a baseline, history, types of engagement displayed by participants, and level of agitation or aggression. Mean scores were provided in each study to show the level of interactions or enjoyment observed by trained staff. For example, it can be seen here in a chart from the Animal-Assisted Therapy versus Human Interaction study. Notice the means during the Animal-Assisted Therapy and the Human Interaction Therapy sessions. The numbers are higher. This means that dementia residents showed increased social interaction, happiness, and decreased sadness as opposed to pre-therapy and post-therapy sessions. An interesting notation by Pope, Hunt, and Ellis in 2016 from this study was, although these differences were not significant overall, a specific significant decrease in verbal aggression and an increase in demonstration of pleasure was seen in dog over human visits. Animal-assisted therapy, human interactions, and reminiscence were individualized activities that produced the strongest results. Not only did social interactions improve in residents with dementia, but the effects also lingered for a time after the activity was completed each visit. Activity involvement may contribute to higher well-being, and adjusting them to individual preference and capabilities might enlarge this relationship, according to Smith, DeLange, Williams, Twisk, and Pott, 2015. It should be mentioned that during this research, a resident who was not part of the study during the Animal-Assisted Therapy versus Human Interaction study, this resident was having an especially difficult day and would not stop crying. A staff member stated that they had tried everything, but the resident was still very upset. So she asked if one of the dogs could be brought into the resident's room to see if it would help. Staff and researchers stood and watched as the resident's tears of utter sorrow turned to tears of joy and happiness. According to Pope, Hunt, and Ellis in 2016, the emotion in the room was palpable, and all who witnessed the interaction said it was an amazing transformation. I agree that more research is needed in order to support a large practice change, so I do agree with conclusions from each article that more research is needed. However, from a compassionate human being standpoint, the joy observed on someone's face is far more evidence than any study can provide. Do we need the evidence? Yes, we do. Does it need to be measurable? Yes, it does. There are some things, though, that can only be measured by the human heart. When you can't help but smile and almost cry at the joy felt and expressed by others, then you have reached a greater conclusion on a spiritual level. I did not find a guideline for this presentation. However, there is enough evidence to support a practice change at the facility level. Many facilities across the nation have already implemented a pet therapy program and have contracted with animal-assisted therapy groups. Other facilities have created specific activities such as gardening, painting, yoga, or dancing. These individualized activities are put into place at the discretion of each facility. Proving that individual activities improve social interactions may not require strong evidence from a lengthy study in order to bring about a practice change. Maybe it just takes enough compassionate hearts clustered in many areas across the country to care about our ailing elderly population.